everyone. Welcome back to Lash Boss Radio. I'm Shelby, your host, and today I'm joined by Ava Reeves. She's over in the UK, and you guys, she is one of the most inspiring people, and you will see why in this episode. I've seen her speak a few times at some conferences over in the UK, and she's actually going to be flying over for Lash Boss Summit next April and speaking for us there. So I'm so excited for you guys to hear her story and just everything that she's about. I promise you this will be one of your favorite episodes on Lash Boss Radio. Welcome to the show, Ava.
Hello, welcome. Oh my gosh, what a lovely introduction, Shelby. You said it's going to be their favourite episode. Oh my God, I've got to live up to that now.
Sorry. I just think you're so great. You have everyone out of their seats and like dancing and crying at whenever you're speaking, and you're just on stage. You guys, she's just so cool up there. I just can't wait for you to come. To set the stage, can you just tell the listeners just kind of like a synopsis of your career so far?
Sure thing. So I was working in an office job. I had a 1-year-old son and I was 20 years old. I bloody hated that job because I had to ask when I could go on a lunch break. I had to ask to have time off, and there was rules, and I don't like rules. So I hated that job, and I thought, do you know what? I can't live like this. And long story short, I invested all of my money, which wasn't much at the time, it was a few £100s, into some beauty courses. I'm talking like £400. I don't know what that is in US dollars. And I got about 5 courses for that. So you can imagine the quality of the courses, not very good. And I quickly realized, do you know what? If I want to be the best at something, I'm going to focus on that one thing and really nail it. Now, for me, I'm not that patient. So I was quite surprised when Lashes and I hit it off. And at that time it was 2016 and it was fairly new in our area. And I quickly got known as the Lash Girl. And my brand, what started off in, my living room, I eventually created a room within my house, and then I was approached by Lash Base. Now, Lash Base are the UK's largest lash supplier. They've now ventured out over in the US, and they asked to come and film me. Now, that for me at that point was like having the Queen come round to my house. So I had all my finest cutlery. No, I made it really lovely in my house, and it was a flat, and they come round, and it was the first time I'd ever met someone who was doing really well for themselves. I'm talking, had a huge business, and meeting Julie at that time, who owned Lash Base, was a transformational moment for me because she was so down to earth, and her son Jamie was with her. Jamie's now, the face of Lash Base, and there was such a wonderful family. And I thought, oh my gosh, if she can do what she's done, surely there is hope for me. And that was the start of our beautiful working relationship together. I very quickly, expanded my business. I made the decision because they wanted me to teach for them. But in order for me to teach for them, I had to have a premises. I could just about afford my rent at that point. And I had a newborn and a 4-year-old, and I was on my own. But I did it. I was working with Lash Base. I got my own premises. I had staff. I had a salon. I had a training academy. And then 2020 come around, and I know we're going to get into it. I had some huge realizations, and I decided to strip it all back. I got rid of my salon. I got rid of my staff. I started working back from home, and now I do lash because I love lashing, and I love the conversations and being intimate in that way with women, without sounding really bloody weird, but I just love it. And I am now venturing into the space of public speaking and coaching, because it's so much more than lashing. For me, it's the power of, women having choice. So I teach women how to become beauty educators. I teach women how to strip back and live life that is meaningful to them. And I see so many women who have the salons, have the this, that, and the other, and they're bloody miserable. So I come in and I'm like, all right, sister, are you really happy? If not, let's get going. What work do we need to do? So I'm more of the deeper work now, and I love it. So that's where I'm currently at, Shelby.
Yes. So you are made for that. I feel like I mean, there's so many coaches, I think, in the world in different industries and stuff. And you can tell some people are really meant for that. And then some people maybe aren't so much, but you really are. Like whenever I first met you, I think in person was the beauty summit. And
Yep,
then
that's
the
right.
second time um, was at Lash Base's conference, which was awesome. Um, and I just really feel like we connected a lot. And I felt like you had just this really calm, peaceful energy, but you were also able to like really like get in there to anyone that you're talking to. And it shows on stage too, which is really cool. And I think that's kind of hard to do. Sometimes I'm like, I know I have so much to share, but then I get on stage and sometimes I'm not able to do that. And so when I see somebody able to do that on stage too, I'm like, okay, this person is so cool. But yeah, so you really do have a gift, I just have to say.
Thank you. I've not always been good at public speaking, and it's definitely something that I've evolved to get better at. And I think the key for me is, again, keeping with the theme of authenticity, is not over planning it. I love to feel the energy of the room. I love to connect with people beforehand. And which is why when people ask, what's the topic? What are you going to be talking about? Introduce yourself before the event. I kind of struggle with that because I'm having to pre plan. I love to just be in the moment and give the audience what they need at that time. And which is why I take, dancing on stage and taking my shoes off on stage. These are things I never planned to do them. It just so happened that dancing in my kitchen to help me through a really shit time, then putting that online has actually led me to, it's like the butterfly effect. That has led me to come to Texas next year because women love that rawness, that authenticity. It's, being grounded on stage and not talking from an ego perspective. I'm raw. I'm who I am on and off stage. There is no difference. And I just love it,
Yeah.
Shelby. And I didn't realize I do feel like it's made for me when I'm up there. It just flows. There
Mhm.
is no thinking, which is why I can't plan things, because when I plan it down to T, I end up getting it all wrong and getting all muddled up. So I feel the room, and I honestly feel like that is where I'm meant to be at this stage of my life.
Yeah, it's really cool seeing it at an event where like the topics are about artistry, business, but then there's this bit where we're all I don't know, the message that you're sending at the event is just kind of like a holistic just of everything. It brings everything together and I don't know. I think it just really touches people. So I'm really excited for you to bring that to Texas. Um, so going back to how you kind of stripped away everything after getting the salon, the training academy staff and all of that, and you stripped that away and now you're like a solo artist at home. Um, what things do you recognize in artists today that are kind of an inkling that maybe they should look inward as well?
Everyone is so different. So what might work for me might not work for someone else. But something that I help women do is align back with their core values. This is a first stepping stone, I feel. What is most meaningful to you? So many women, people, everyone lives on autopilot, never stopping to question, why are they doing the things that they're doing? Their personality traits. Oh, that's just me. No, it's not. Perhaps that's a trauma response. The friends that you hang around with, are they truly your friends? This career that I'm doing, is it something that I'm actually, no one stops to really give it any thought because we live in such a fast paced world and we are put through this system where we're not allowed to stop and sit and question. We're not given that space because you are constantly having to hustle and grind. Okay. So that was the same for me. So me getting to that point of getting my salon, I think it's really important to mention. on my salon opening party, you know, I'd worked so hard, Shelby, to get to that point, so much so I'd sold belongings in my home to afford the down payment. So when I realized on my opening night and I looked around, I thought, the only reason I'm doing this is to get a well done from my mum. I'm never actually going to get that. So who the fuck am I? Sorry for swearing. I don't know if you're allowed that.
It's
Cut it
okay.
out if not. Who the fuck am I doing this for, Shelby? You know, I'm not spending any time with my kids. I can't take time off to look after them when they're sick. I'm having to give them medicine and shove them into childcare. My outside life looks fantastic. I've got a lovely brand new car. I'm 24 years old. I look glamorous. I got fake boobs. I've got a lovely salon. Everything looks incredible. And women are telling me how inspiring I am. But actually, the reality is my relationships at home were suffering. I was malnourished. I wasn't even eating properly. I would get reoccurring UTIs because I wouldn't drink enough or eat enough or even rest. My home was a mess. There was piles of washing everywhere. And when I was with my kids, I wasn't really with them because I'm so stuck in my head. So for me, recognizing what my core values are, first of all, my health. A lot of women go, oh, yeah, when I do this activity with them, my health and family. Oh, yeah, they're my. Really? Because back then, if someone had asked me what your core values, I'd have said, yeah, my health and my family. But realistically, was my life in alignment with that? Absolutely not. So that is the first step. I would get very, very clear on what my core values are. You know, if you've got children, that ultimately comes first. So what does your life look like? How much quality time are you getting with your family? What is your health looking like? You know, that's the first step. So getting really radically honest with ourselves. Now, the ego is very, very clever. So back then, I thought I wanted all of those things. But actually, it was me getting that brand new car was to show my ex that actually, I don't need your fucking help. Look, I can do it all on my own. Look at all of these things that I've got. Look at how important I am. Is anyone going to love me yet? Is everyone? So I think it's really important. First of all, it's core values. It's getting radically honest with yourself. And someone asked me recently, they said, hey, Ava, I have made, I've got my salon. I've evolved very quickly. You know, it's grown, but I'm actually miserable. What should I do? When do I know is the right time to pivot? Because I don't just want to be going through a bad blip and then make, the change to get rid of it all and actually realize it was a mistake, which I wholeheartedly agree. We can't just be irrational and make these quick changes. Although as entrepreneurs, we are very good at pivoting fast and making impulsive decisions, but we have to think critically about this. So the advice that I gave to that particular woman was, first of all, honor your feelings. Like, it's okay to feel like you don't enjoy something anymore. But what is it you're not enjoying? Get really specific, because here's the thing. When we've got lots of responsibilities, it can get really busy in our mind. And what we want to do is just get rid of all of it. And we think that's the answer. It's almost like black or white, but it's not. Get clear on what it is that's frustrating you. Can you delegate any of those things? Can you let go of any of those things? And then I would give myself a personal timeline. How long am I allowed to feel like this for? Now, that timeline might look different for me and it might look different for you. I might say, do you know what? I don't know if it's because it's a Christmas period and I'm feeling pressured and that's why I don't enjoy it. So I'm going to give myself until February the 1st and then I'm going to review my choices then. And that's the advice that I gave her. So I hope that answers your question. Again, it's very individual, but the first thing and the thing that I've noticed throughout all of this is the core values. That is the most important thing.
Mm-hmm. I think too, when we have social media and we see other people doing things and we're like, oh, that person took this path, I need to take that path so I can be successful too. But there's so many different things that success can look like for a person that has nothing to do with like a particular business venture or accomplishment or accolade in that way. Like success can look like having time with your family or getting to go on vacation or something else. Like, so can you talk about that too? Like like, oh, I just achieved this. Now I want to do this. And now I want to do this.
Yeah, it's so social media is a bloody bugger in it for that sort of thing. You look at it, I could spend 5 seconds on social media and then start to question all of my life choices. You have to be really mindful of the stuff that you are consuming. Success is a funny thing because I did a post about this and it was one of my top performing posts. And it was, what if leaving my relationship, getting rid of my salon and downgrading my car were actually my most successful moments and my successful achievements? And it's that when I had to, so I, separated from my partner almost 2 years ago now, and part of that I had to downgrade my car because I couldn't keep up with the car payments anymore. And I loved that car, Shelby. Like, oh my gosh, it was beautiful. I felt like oh my god, it was like so cool. I felt like an absolute G in it, and I had to take it and get it sold. And I was upset, and then I very quickly had a conversation with myself. Was like, oh, actually, this is quite exciting. And I didn't have a car for a few weeks. And I tell you what, the kids found it so exciting because we got buses and stuff. I had to be more intentional with when I was going to do the food shopping, the activities that we do. And it made me feel really grateful for having, I've got the option. I was just waiting for the money to come through before I bought another car, but it made me feel really grateful. It was exciting. And I learned so much from that experience. And I downgraded my car, bought a new car outright. It's not the newest. And that, honestly, that helped me so much get over my ego, my like, oh, what's everyone else going to think of me? So that was great. Success looks different to everyone. I had to strip right back. I had to go back to budgeting because I didn't have staff in that salon. I didn't have all that extra income coming in. But what I had was more time with my children. I had peace of mind. I had that time to actually do the inner work and start healing myself from the inside. That's fucking successful. Getting to read to my kids every night. Shelby, that used to be on my goals, like to read to my child twice a week, because one of them, I would get pulled up at school going, oh, they're struggling with their reading. Can you read to them? And I just feel so bad that I don't read to my kids because I didn't have time, or felt like I didn't have time. I read to my kids every single night. Like, we have beautiful rituals within our home. So whilst my outside pursuits might not look glamorous or successful to modern day society, I am successful within my own right. I am a whole person. I've done a lot of healing work. I've broken the generational patterns within my family. I've made incredible memories with my children. We just spoke earlier about I made the decision to home educate my daughter. We've managed to get all that time together. I'm there for my children. I'm there for my friends. I'm strong. Like, my health has never been better, because I make that that's part of my week. That's part of my rituals to take care of myself. Yes, I might not be absolutely minted right now. I will be. I'm working on it, but I'm working at it from a more holistic, more aligned place.
Mm-hmm.
That will come, so success, that chasing the next thing, we really have to get mindful of the content that we're consuming. When we feel that impulse to do that next thing, sit with it. Start to treat yourself as if you are your own parent. Okay. What would you tell your child if they was like, oh, I want to do this and I want to do that? You'd say, hold on a minute, calm down. Let's look at this. Let's think about this logically. Why is it you want to do that? Begin to question yourself. Is it just a habit that you've got to quickly chase the next thing? Is it a dopamine rush? So many of us are solely malnourished, right? We are malnourished at a soul level. We don't do shit that makes us feel alive. Okay. We're in draining jobs, draining relationships. We're not eating the right foods. We're not moving our body. We're not living how we're meant to be living as humans. And we are drained. So we do anything for a quick fix, almost like a drug addict, right? I'll buy those shoes. I will, oh, that new product's come out. I'll buy that. Oh, I'll do that thing because that, you don't always need to be chasing. And I think it's good to evolve and things. And I'm not saying no one should, expand their business. I just think we need to start to critically think about things to make sure that the decisions that we're making are actually within our best interests. Because when you start to pick away at that, you'll be surprised at what you come up with. Oh, actually, I'm doing that thing because I don't feel safe at home with my relationship. So I need to be financially independent so then I can leave that. Oh, do you truly want to do that then? Or I'm going to get my salon to get the validation that I never got as a child. You know, when you really dig deep, I know it's very deep, but a lot of this stuff is. And in our industry, you've got a lot of hustling boss babes, right? That are looking like they're killing it, but actually on the inside, they're killing themselves. They're not happy. Who are we doing this for? And it's okay to pivot. It's okay to change direction. And I think it's really important as well. Like we talk about, I don't know if you've ever heard of the life cycle, but it's constant. Things die off. We hear about it in motherhood. I know you're a mother. When you become a new mother, there's a term. It's called matrodescence. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. And that is the death of the person that you once were. Okay, and you are a new person with each child that you have. And what we do as humans, as women, is we try and cling on to that old version of ourselves, right? And this new version, we don't know this version of ourselves. And you're sleep deprived, and you're unhappy, and you're trying to cling on desperately to that old self. But she's not there anymore. And you have to accept that void space of between who you are now and who you are becoming. And we are ever changing as women. We are so fascinating. We are, with our hormone cycles and just we are always evolving, which is why what worked for you last year might not work the year ahead. It's really important for women to come back to themselves, to be connected to themselves, their intuition, their guide, because that will tell you what's working for you and what isn't. And so many women are so disconnected from themselves. So they go years doing the same shit, but they are miserable deep down. Sorry, that sounds really depressing. But there is an upside. There is an upside, Shelby. We have choice and we can turn it around. We can start living life on our own terms. But we have to give ourselves permission to think and feel like that. And so many of us have the good girl conditioning, the people pleasing tendencies, doing shit for everybody else. This is why a lot of us are in the roles that we are, because we're very caring and we like making people feel good. But a lot of the time it's at our own detriment. This is why we have to be very careful, especially as the caring, nurturing, loving kinds, that we are honouring ourselves as well and not giving ourselves away and depleting ourselves. Because you cannot give if you haven't got it yourself. So the people pleasing, we see it a lot. I even see it in the Facebook groups, right, of people posting their conversations. I don't know if it's the same in the US. I'm sure it was. It is. But people will be posting, how do I respond to this client? Oh, I feel so guilty. Oh, I feel so bad. It's like, hold on a minute. Asserting yourself, asserting your boundaries, being confident is not being confrontational or bad. And we've got the good girl conditioning, which is a lot of us as little girls were told that we had to be a certain way, look a certain way. And what happens is we grow up so disconnected from ourselves, not knowing how to articulate our needs. Okay. And this is where I help women in the industry. It is with those having boundaries, knowing how to assert yourself. We're so afraid to upset people. We're so afraid to, I talk about the feminine energy as well. And it's, we're nurturing and we're lovely and all these things, but actually we're pretty wild women. Like we've got this dark side to us. Excuse me, we've got this side where we are so honest and raw that not everybody can handle it. Okay, we are so deeply passionate and intuitive that not everyone can handle that. I've been told that I'm intimidating before when I've said, hey, you know that thing that you just said? I don't quite agree and I would really love to get to the bottom of that and have a discussion. I find you really intimidating. And people aren't used to that. So for me, I feel like it's my duty to stand in who I am, okay, and go on stage and be who I am, because when I am standing within my power, it gives other people permission to do the same. When women Go on, you look like you're gonna say something then.
Yes, that's what it is. It's because sometimes when you see people on stage, you're like, you're and I get that I also just said that about you, like, "Oh, you're so cool on stage." But what it was is you were actually making me feel so good about myself watching you do that. So it was like noticing that you admire some people on stage for all of their accolades and their knowledge on certain topics and stuff. But I think what makes it different watching you on stage or in your content even, you can see it, is you remind women, like, of their inner self, their inner child too, like the playfulness, the it's something about that that makes you remember like, "Oh, this is a part of me and important too, not just business, not ju I shouldn't just be trying to learn and grow and get more money and all of this stuff all the time. It's also this over here." And I think that's what it is whenever you're on stage, is like you're reminding people who they are as well.
The inner child, it's interesting that you mentioned that because, as you say, we're so fixated on the next thing and achieving. And a lot of the self-help stuff, which is wonderful, that can be a form of distraction as well. We have lost our ability to play. We have lost our ability to just be. And this is what I hope to remind women of is we need stillness. We are playful. And as business owners, we are so stuck in our head, and as women and as mothers having to think and do and plan and be everything to everyone that we lose who we are. So me dancing in my kitchen might seem, oh, she's dancing, she's having a lovely time. Actually, in that act, I am giving myself permission to just be. And playfulness, I hosted a retreat this year for women, and it was an empowerment retreat, and I did a 2-hour session on inner child healing. It was the first one I'd ever done, and even just writing, the course out, like it was the session outlay, sorry. It was healing for me, and I'd never hosted that before, so I was really nervous, but every single woman was crying. We did guided meditations, reconnected back with their inner child, learnt what our inner critic is, and there were some women there who had huge breakthroughs, like, oh, I am the person. So I look at this woman and think, gosh, she's got it all together, she is the go-to person. But she's that way because she felt so insignificant as a child. So she's made herself almost irreplaceable and the go-to person. So she finds it very hard not to do that job because who is she without being needed by everyone? But in that, after we did the inner child, it was really fascinating. We had beauty therapists and salon owners and accountants and all sorts. And after that, when they were in this really vulnerable state, I brought them outside. It was a beautiful setting, and we did. I'm also forest school trained, so I had another forest school leader come in, and we did a mini forest school session for these women. And they made willow crowns with beads and glitter, and we sat on the grass eating biscuits, laughing. And it was so beautiful, Shelby. I had to step back just to observe what I'd put on for these ladies. And you've got women there who are being themselves. They're talking about the things that they struggle with, the things that they find fun. They're laughing. They're going, oh, I like that bead that you got. Can I have that bead? And it's like, do you know what? Yeah, we still have that little version of us inside us, and we try and ignore her. She's still living that. And I tell you what, if you ignore her, she's going to come out one way or another. She will unconsciously choose relationships for you, which don't work out. And then you think, why the fuck do I keep ending up in the same situation? And she's inside you going, hello, hello, can you see me yet? You will keep making these choices until you pause and reflect and go within. I don't know if that is even, I hope that makes sense.
Yep. I think also too, so on my own journey, like I don't know if this question is going to make a lot of sense, but it has to do also with what that lady you were just talking about was saying is what happened, like I can't let go of this person here. There's something that happens to me sometimes. So I'll kind of be so engaged in my professional world that I'll almost resist anything that's like healing or like, oh, I don't need this or that, because it feels like I sometimes can't bring them together. And then there's other times where I'm like, these are meshing together and everything feels great and like I feel like I'm doing really well. And then there's just other phases where I resist it again and I'm just like, nope, I'm just going in this direction. And this never seems to feel that great, like to just be pedal to the metal, business only. And I know that it feels good over here, but then there's just this resistance that happens sometimes. And I'm still trying to figure that out, if that makes sense.
That makes perfect sense. And there are seasons to life. We cannot, unless there's anyone listening who's got the answer to this, we cannot have this thriving business as well as being this incredibly present stay-at-home mum, as well as having our health in tip-top condition, as well as cooking all of our foods from scratch, as well as we cannot do it all, right? And sometimes there is a trade-off. Sometimes it's like, hey, do you know what? Like the stage I'm in right now, Shelby, I've been home educating, and that's been going great. And I'm this present mum and I'm baking bread and I'm doing this all cool shit. My kids are loving it. You know, we're in the forest, but I'm not earning the money that I want to and the stuff that I want to do within my business. So the trade-off there is I'm going to have to send her back whilst I focus on the business. And it's like there is always a trade-off. So I think the important thing is to have self-compassion. Okay, you can't be everything to everyone. And if you are running a business and you've got this incredible brand, sometimes that does require more of your attention. But then you make up for it in other areas with your children, or with yourself. And we talk about having balance, right, in all areas. And I don't know if you can truly have balance all of the time. I think it's this, as I mentioned earlier, the life cycle. You've constantly got things are ever changing. Like sometimes you have to focus more on one thing. And as I said, there is a trade-off. So I think it's being kind to yourself and not feeling guilty. And as women, we often do feel guilty. Oh my gosh, I'm putting so much attention into my work, but I'm neglecting that, at home. I don't know if men have the same thought process. But I think, and again, it comes back to the comparison, isn't it? Are we comparing ourselves to anybody? I could look at other business owners and think, oh my gosh, they're doing really well. I know that I can give all of my attention like they can, but actually, has that person like myself got 3 kids at home? What's their energy levels like? They might be able to do more of that than I can. We are all so unique. So I think the key is to have self-compassion. It's having that almost like a set of rules. So what are your non-negotiables? Okay. So, right, you're going to pedal to the metal, whatever you just said, which was really cool, by the way. But you know what? At the weekend, you've got your ritual of you spend your time with your son and you make sure that you journal every evening and you give yourself 10 minutes before bed to sit in front of your mirror and tell yourself how amazing you are, So I think I hope that helps.
The people listening, I kind of imagine who that person is. Like they have their headphones in, they're lashing, they're trying to consume more, they're trying to do something good for themselves. And I'm thinking of like how I get as well, like when I'm listening to podcasts and I'm consuming content that is supposed to be like good for my business and everything, and I'm in these modes of like achieving and growing and I just like really want for that person listening to, I don't know, to hear this conversation and know that like I also am doing this dance too and trying to figure it out too. And I'm sure you felt the same when you were like, well, I just made this decision to homeschool my daughter and now I'm choosing something else. I'm sure that was something for you as well. But yeah, I'm just like thinking about that person that's like, they're listening to this because they want better for themselves and they want like they want to do the right things for themselves and make the right decisions. But yeah, I don't know.
I think it's getting quiet. And when we feel like that, we try and find the answers outside of ourselves. So we try and listen to all of the podcasts. We try and read all the blogs. We try and consume all the online content and all of the gurus online. But actually, the answers come from within. I know that sounds really cliche, but we're not going to hear those answers or what our soul desires because we're so busy looking outside of ourselves. We have to get quiet. How many of ourselves give ourselves permission to not have to have all the answers and just to trust? So one of my rituals, which has taught me loads, is I'm not very disciplined in many areas, but it's something I've been working on. But I journal every single evening, and I just write out everything because I am, as an adult, as a woman, having to learn my identity. Okay, that normally forms in childhood, but if you've experienced quite a chaotic or traumatic childhood, you don't have a strong identity, which is why I've ended up in a position of having poor choices and having 3 children with 3 different men and finding myself single yet again. Why the fuck is that, Shelby? Why is it that I've made these decisions? So I've had to go within and learn what my patterns of behavior are and learn what it is that I truly desire, not what this trauma response or this impulsiveness wants. So for me, getting quiet with myself and allowing myself just to write and write and write and get quiet, the answers then come to me. When I'm in my kitchen, I'm not going to listen to a podcast. I'm going to put some music on and I'm going to dance and make cookies at 10 o'clock at night when I've got no kids, right? That is healing. That, being in that flow state and that playfulness, it actually brings up new ideas and new creativity. So it's actually good for my business. Scheduling time to do nothing is the answer sometimes, but we're so used to seeking outside of ourselves. So again, like I mentioned earlier, it's a form of distraction almost, always having to learn loads and do loads.
Yeah.
Distraction.
I agree. I do still think like it's good to, when you're looking for a specific thing, like, or stay on top of the trends, like there is a time and place to like be learning. I do think that, but I notice sometimes too when I'm maybe it's something to do with ADHD or something. I don't know. But anyway, sometimes I notice like when I'm listening to a podcast or I'm at a conference, my brain is just going wild with ideas and stuff that's coming from my own head. And I'm not even listening anymore to the podcast or the person on stage, but I'm just having all these ideas and thoughts. But it's the environment that I'm in that's just like conjuring up everything. But anyway, I just don't even know why I said that or if that's even like valuable to
Shelby, I used to sleep with a whiteboard next to my bed. I had this massive whiteboard. I nailed it into my wall because every evening before bed, my ideas would run wild, and then I'd be going to bed well late, which would then have a knock-on effect for everyone. So I put a big old whiteboard up, and then I'd get it all out. I'd get it out of my mind, put it on there.
That's a good idea. Yeah, like it's funny, just our brains do that type of stuff. But I feel like this year, especially, I've tried to be more intentional with like doing something that doesn't have anything to do with money, like making money, or like, this is not going to become a business. I'm just going to learn how to do pottery because I want to do it, like not because I'm going to start selling pottery. But my mind will start telling me, oh, if you get really good at this, you can start selling the mugs. Oh, and you can sell them at the salon. And I'm like, stop. Just allow yourself to just do it because it's fun for you. It's hard.
Really hard, but you are not alone in that. Just quickly, side note, me and my friend have that, and she said to me the other day, Ava, I observed how many new businesses I come up with one day. And she said, do you know how many? Like, go on, what was it? She went 10. She said, in the morning, I did a yoga video on YouTube. Then I started thinking, I'd be a yoga teacher. And then she ate something and thought, do you know what? I reckon they're easy to make. Perhaps then I could open a bakery. And we were wetting ourselves laughing because it's, I think when we're entrepreneurial and we are creative, we do turn, oh, if I enjoy this, perhaps I could do that. You don't need to do everything. And that's really hard.
Mhm.
Or do you know what? I'm going to put that on a little shelf and I'll come back to that in a few weeks. By then, you thought of about 50 other bloody jobs you could have done.
Yeah, it's wild. Okay, so if anyone is listening today and is just like, okay, how do I just start checking in with myself? Like maybe they just never do that. What are things that they can do like just to kind of start the process of their journey and their core values and all of that? Is it journaling? Is it a certain exercise?
I think it's different for everybody. So, whatever gets you out of your head. So, for some people, that might be going for a long walk. When was the last time you went for a long walk without putting your headphones in and on your own? Perhaps it might look like pottery painting, where you get into the flow state. Or in my case, it might look I'm trying to make sourdough at the moment and I'm playing my music. That gets me in a really beautiful flow state. What works for you? Okay, quieten down. If someone says, well, I haven't got enough time, I haven't got time to quiet down. Listen, all right, I'm a single mum to 3 kids. If I can find 15 minutes of an evening, then you can too. It doesn't require a whole day. It doesn't require a holiday or a spa day, although those things would be lovely. It just requires you to start getting a bit more mindful. When you're eating your food, how many of us actually just quickly shove it down our throats because we're so busy? How about this is what I do with my kids? I get them to look at their plate, right? And I'm like, look at your vegetables. Think about how much effort it took for them to even grow. And then someone had to harvest them. And then they had to get sent to a supermarket. Just start to slow down and become a bit mindful. Mindfulness doesn't have to be sitting like this and closing your eyes and omming. It can literally look like dancing around your kitchen. It can look like going for a walk. So what might work for me might not work for you. But I think every woman knows what she needs. But a lot of the time we deny ourselves that because we put excuses on top. So start getting a bit more mindful. Okay. Pay attention to how you feel. If you're constantly feeling frustrated throughout the day, I mean, I'm a redhead, I'm a Leo, I'm very passionate. I would get very frustrated. And that's when I know that I'm not in alignment because I'd be more angry throughout the day and just want to react to everything. When that happens now, I'm like, oh, why am I feeling like this? What's missing from my life right now? So, my question to you would be, listener, what's missing from your life right now? Is it playfulness? Is it time to yourself? Are you eating the right foods? Again, because we tend to think it's these big things. How much sleep are you getting? How much water are you drinking? What's your diet like? Like, get back. I talk about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which is this. I've done a bit of psychology at uni, so that's how I learned about it. But this is what I bring to women at these conferences. I literally get them to score themselves and give themselves like an assessment of, are you meeting your fundamental human needs as a human being? Sleep, food, these things. Look at them first. Because how can you make big decisions if you're not even eating the right foods or you're not even getting enough sleep? If you're operating from a place of lack, how can you make sure that the choices that you're making are from the right place? I know it doesn't sound very fun, but this is a thing, Shelby. So many of us think the answers are going to be these fun, wonderful things. Actually, it's really bloody boring sometimes. I've had to start getting really strict with myself and going to bed at a normal time, like at a decent time.
Yeah, same.
Not being mindful of how much I'm scrolling. Like,
Mhm.
we are women, but a lot of us wouldn't allow our kids to do the same shit that we do. So we have to get radically honest with ourselves and start pulling ourselves up on things and holding ourselves accountable. What are you saying yes to when you should really be saying no? Write a list. What are the things? Draw a line down the middle. Things that give you energy, things that take that energy away, right? Do you know what? I really hate every evening, right? I'm having to cook for everyone. I'm so tired. Okay, but everyone in my house needs to eat. How can I make that easier for myself? Twice a week, Shelby, we eat off of paper plates. Now, that might sound weird, but I tell you what, my kids find it well fun. It saves me a shit ton of washing up, right? And that makes my life a little bit easier. What are some of the low-hanging fruits that you can choose that will make your life easier? And then infusing a bit of play. So, when you're in that state of feeling overwhelmed and you've got so much to do, people might not want to prance around their bloody kitchen like I do, dancing around, right? But it's really important to laugh and to have joy in our lives. We are playful at our core. Look at our kids. Look at your kids, They are full of awe and wonder and curiosity, and they're just like so happy to just be here. And that goes as we get older. It's really sad unless we are intentional with it. I could sit here and get really overwhelmed with the amount. I'm going to have my kids living with me for the next bloody 15 years, Shelby. I'm going to have to feed them for almost that amount of time. That's a lot of responsibility. Oh my God, I've got to feed myself for the next, you know what I mean? It's so easy to get so overwhelmed and think so long term, but actually pull it back. Where are you right now? How are you feeling right now? What are some of the things you could do right now that will make your life that little bit better? And it might not look something glamorous. It might be something so simple like, do you know what? I'm going to clean my kitchen in a minute because that's a right mess and that causes me stress. I'm going to have that difficult conversation with that person at work and I keep putting it off, but I know I need to do it. Do you know what? I'm just going to do it. If that person is playing on your mind or that situation and you're feeling really frustrated by it, either choose to acknowledge it and deal with it head on or let it go. So many of us walk around with all these worries, but deal with it or let it go. You are responsible for yourself. So I think that's one of the harsh realities that I've come to learn, Shelby, is I have to hold myself accountable. I cannot blame people for my busyness or when I feel overwhelmed. I cannot blame other people because I am a woman and I am in charge of my life. And the moment that I start going, oh, well, I can't do that and I feel really overwhelmed and it's really easy to go into victim mode. And I know it might sound harsh, but I've almost had to call upon my inner masculine, I call it, my inner father. Okay. A lot of women that didn't grow up without dads, me being one of them, you haven't got that. We struggle with many, many things, but holding ourselves accountable, speaking to ourselves like I'm my own dad. Ava, I know you're tired. Get yourself up right now and do that thing. You'll feel better for it. Oh, fine. All right then. So I hope that answers the question, but I think a lot of women know what they need to do. And I think a lot of women know what they want, but we're so used to seeking outside of ourselves. Get quiet with yourself. Get honest with yourself. And tune out. If you need to tune out for a little while and take those apps off your phone and go quiet and stop hanging out with your mates on the weekend, perhaps that's what you need to do.
You also offer coaching as well, coaching calls. So if somebody wants to work directly with you, where could they find that information?
Of course. So on Instagram, Ava Scarlett Reeves. In January, I'm going to be opening up my new membership, which is an 8-week coaching program. It's called Authentically You, and everything that we've just spoken about, getting back to what matters to you, how to have these difficult conversations, okay, how to prioritize yourself, how to align your life with what truly matters. That's the sort of stuff we're going to be covering in that membership. And we're going to have a community of women who are doing the work. Again, it's really easy to fall off the wagon, be motivated one day and not the next because shit gets in the way. But when we've got women there who are doing the same work, who can hold ourselves accountable and root for us, it makes doing that work a hell of a lot easier. So if you are listening to this and you resonate, then please reach out to me direct. I know obviously you're in the States, it's something that we can do online. And yeah, I hope what I've spoken about resonated today.
Thank you so much for coming on. I will link your pages in the show notes and links to that. But thank you so much for coming on and sharing all of this with us. I loved this episode and I can't wait to have you here in Austin sharing this all on stage too.
Oh, my pleasure. And I absolutely cannot wait. I've never been to Austin, so I cannot wait. Very excited. Do I have to wear cowgirl boots?
I think you should.
Okay, cool. Because I reckon I'd look really good in them.
Okay, cool.
Thank you,
So,
Shelby.
yeah, thank you.